All right, guys, it is May 2nd, 2025. So we are 36 days from Hot Rod Power Tour. Going to be doing, from where I'm coming, the Dallas area, 2,500 miles, kind of round trip for the Power Tour. You want to have a good fuel system. So today we're going to cover what I got set up here, how I got set up, and how it's working. This is actually the, well, it's not a stock 289 block. This car was originally 6-cylinder, and it's a 66. This motor, at least the short block, is from a 65. So it's still a 289. It's still stroked as a 289. Anyways, this is the Holley Sniper fuel system, Sniper 1, which has been working pretty good. A lot of updates from what I've read on the Sniper 2. I have the kind of extension arm on here for the throttle. So if you use this original Sniper 1, throttle can be really sensitive. I also have kind of the progressive linkage. Normally all 4 barrels kind of open simultaneously as you work the throttle. But if you have the progressive linkage set up, those rear barrels open a little bit later. And you can set that up in the software once you've got the correct linkage for that. So if you get a Sniper 1, I really recommend that because the throttle is really sensitive initially. For the rest of the linkage, it goes back to the stock pedal and the stock kind of bar here. And I got some threaded rods with kind of heim joint ends on them of sorts. And that's worked really well. Slightly adjustable. I mean, it's not right-handed, left-handed threads or anything. It's right-handed threads on both ends. But you can still kind of adjust it a little bit if needed. And then I'll show you the fuel tank here as well. So here we are at the fuel tank. This is at the bottom of the tank, normally where the sending unit for the fuel level gauge hooks up. And normally, you know, the fuel pickup comes out of here. But with this tank I got from Rock Auto, the fuel pump is in tank and it's in here. And this is where it attaches. Unlike some tanks, you know, where it drops in from the top, which is probably a lot easier to service. This one goes in right where the sending unit normally goes in. Now it has the way it came, it has an output line 3/8 inch and then a return line 5/16, which is great because that's what the Sniper requires. Although I think that maybe they've updated it to 3/8 return. And then it has lines going in, wires going in for power, ground, and then the sending unit for the fuel gauge, which works just like the stock sending unit. So that was a stock replacement tank from Rock Auto with the pump. And then I ran, actually right now I have rubber lines the whole way, but they're Earls for ethanol gas, you know, so they won't break down on me. But I'm going to replace most of that with hard line. But I got the feed, and then the return lines back here. Okay, so the one thing I have here as well is the Sniper controlling the ignition. Well, this is just an HEI style distributor. You can set up for the Holley Sniper to control your ignition. Let me show you a little bit more about that. So I'll show you how I wired this up to control the timing through the HEI distributor. And there's other videos out here that kind of tutorialize it a lot better. Now when I got my Holley Sniper, it came with this little unit here, just to control timing. I don't know, I don't remember in the original setup what it's actually used for. I mean, nothing in the stock setup tells you really how to run an HEI to control timing through an HEI. But from the wiring harness, you can run into this little Sniper EFI module. And on the other end of that wiring comes this purple and green, which you then run into the distributor. Now, if you can see, I took out kind of the HEI like module, you know, that big kind of semicircular I guess it's kind of a circuit board, and kind of unprofessionally locked out the timing, or at least the kind of advance, right? So there's no mechanical or vacuum advance on the distributor. So it's just locked in here. So nothing can turn. Right, so if you can see, normally this is where it would turn. But really what you have down in here is a magnetic wheel, right? And as the distributor spins, it just sends a magnetic signal out that goes to the Holley, and then the Holley sends back a signal when to fire the spark. And so that's not, once you think about it, it's not really that complex. But what you have to know is when that signal is being sent to the Holley, and then in the software you can set the delay as for when your spark actually fires, so you can get that set up. You know, it takes a little fiddling. You got to get it just right. Now, the one thing you really need to do, though, is phase your distributor, right? So the contact here, you know, meets the contacts, obviously, in the distributor cap. But because there's no mechanical advance or vacuum advance, you got to phase it so that this contact, really when the kind of leading edge spinning will just be crossing over onto the leading edge of the terminal headed to your spark plug, really at kind of your idle timing, right? So maybe 12, 15 degrees, there's just a little bit of overlap. And then when you're fully advanced, it's kind of overlapping on the other side of the terminal. And so through that whole swing, you know, which is not, you know, much, maybe a quarter of an inch of difference between going from 15 degrees to 30, 35 degrees. So, I mean, it works, it idles, and so when the sniper's controlling it, it'll actually kind of tune down the timing sometimes. I think I have like initial, I don't even remember, 12, 15, but it might drop it a couple of degrees if it needs to kind of lower the idle. And it does, and the spark travels just fine. And then when it's cruising, when the RPMs are up, I think I got it 35, maybe 36, 37, no problem. So it's got a big swing, as long as you have it, the phase kind of lined up just right. Again, there's other tutorial videos that go into that, into a lot more detail. But this is a lot cheaper than getting kind of the HyperSpark distributor and all of that. And the HEI is pretty simplistic for wiring it up, whether you're controlling the timing or not. So the last thing I'll talk about on this is the intake. So like I said, it's a 289, right? So it's a short deck Windsor. You can't see well. I've got an Edelbrock RPM air gap intake. So that's a high-rise intake. And I actually have a 1.5 inch spacer on it. Usually it's pretty hard to fit just the high-rise intake. But so I have a 1.5 inch spacer. It's actually a tapered spacer, right? So 4 holes kind of to open. You know, my original intention was to run an open spacer. They say that works better with a dual plane intake with the Holley Sniper, but I found the 4-to-1 tapered. Now that puts the Holley really high. I mean, the kind of top of the barrels here is almost level with what would be the bottom of the hood. But the reason it works is I have this Mustang's Tafir hood, which is like the 67, 68 kind of Shelby scoop on a 65, 66 hood. And, you know, it's not a really aggressive hood scoop, but it gives an additional clearance, and there's no kind of underbracing because it's a fiberglass hood. And that gives enough clearance for this. Now I do have to, if you see I have this offset stud, I have to offset the air cleaner back just an inch or so, but then it clears. So high-rise intake, I mean, it's stock motor mount, so the engine's at stock height, but the high-rise intake, the 1.5 inch spacer, a Holley Sniper on there, and then a full 3 inch air cleaner, you know, 14 inch round, 3 inch tall air cleaner, and it fits underneath this hood. Just barely, but it clears, so that's good. So that's the fuel system. So next week, I'd like to tell you about the braking system. You can see I have a more modern dual reservoir master cylinder. And man, just the kind of the biggest brakes you could fit on the front here. These are 17-inch wheels, and these rotors fill it out a lot. So I'll cover that next week. I'll see y'all then. Thanks.